In the name of God, the Beneficent and Merciful, third session of Practical in GI. And this time we are going to discuss about the pre-tunum space. So let me to show you how we use the direction of opening or cutting through the anterior wall of the abdomen. As you can see here, we after checking the superficial markers, then we try to use two sections through the abdomen, one of them from the superior iliac spine right to left to right above the umbilicus like this, and another one the longitudinal through the linea alba that we try to separate falciform. We try to find the falciform ligament, and at the left side of the falciform we try to make a cut. So after that, when you open the upper part, you reach to the peritoneal cavity, and this is the falciform ligament. We keep it through the anterior wall of the abdomen. When we open the anterior wall of the van, immediately we have access to the greater omentum space, and this is greater omentum that you can see here is hang down, and we can pull up this and receive to the supra and infraculic space. In the greater cavity fossa that you can see here is the greater fossa between the parietal and visceral peritoneum. This space created, but we have lesser peritoneum cavity we discuss later. As you can see here, when we pull keep the greater omentum or abdomen pulleys in the greater peritoneal cavity can pull up. When we do this, you can see the transverse colon clearly, that because of this attachment we can see the attachment at this point, and so we cannot have access to the supraculic or the posterior part of the abdomen because it's sit here. Look here, these are the arc of the small intestine that in margin bonded by the greater intestine. So we started from the duodenal junction. This is duodenum, and this should be jejunum. I try to follow the jejunum from the left to the right, and as I follow it in on the way, easily we can find the difference between jejunum and here we receive to the ileum that goes through the right, and at this point it attached to the second on the most inferior part at the left, and this is the appendix, and this is second ascending colon, and as you can see here the left right colic flexure under the liver, and this line transverse colon, and at the end of the left you can see the left colic flexure, and then we can follow the descending colon, and this one should be the sigmoid colon, and it has mesosigmoid. We can distinguish it, and the and we can reach to the pelvic diaphragm. So attention, the descending colon, ascending colon, and transverse colon, it made the infraculic space. The infraculic space, because of the ascending and descending colon, sigmoid, and the arc of the small intestine, and the attachment of the mesentery, it can divide it into two spaces. Let me to review. If you can remember, the small intestine in my hands attached to the posterior wall by by mesenter from the upper left to the lower left side. So you can see the attachment of the mesenter from the above left to the right inferior. And is cross the third part of the duodenum and reach to the right at the point that we reach to the secum. Here you can see it's 20 centimeters length, so we can the small intestine move to the left and right by this attachment, and we can have access to the infracolic spaces. One of these spaces that you can see here, this is the attachment of the mesenter, and this is the descending colon, and sigmoid colon is clear here that hang down by mesosigmoid. We can distinguish the mesenter has two border, vertical and horizontal, so we can move to up or down because of this attachment. So here being the left infracolic space, mesotransverse colon, mesenter, and transverse and sigmoid mesenter boundaries this. And as you can remember, this space from the right of the sigmoid has access to the pelvic, and in other hand, the infection here can reach to the infracolic by the pelvic. Now I turn the intestine arc to the left side, so we have access to the right infracolic space. Mesenter attachment under left and ascending colon, and meso or transverse colon as in superiorly make one of boundaries of this. So here you can see the right infracolic triangle space that has not any access to the pelvic. In infracolic, this if I put my hand between the ascending colon and the abdominal wall, as you can see here, my fingers easily can reach to the supracolic, I mean above to the transverse colon, and can palpate the right kidney and below the liver. So this space that my finger is in supra colic in hepatorenal pouches. But on the left side, that the left side, you can see at the left of the descending colon and between the descending colon and the abdominal wall, my hand when going to the upside here trapped to a peritoneal attachment, we said pharyngeal ligaments. So the left paracolic has not any access to the supracolic, but the both paracolic grooves have access to the pelvic without any problem, and the infection from the pelvic space cannot has any access to the supracolic from the left, but has access by the right paracolic. As you can see here, the small intestine can be distinguished in palpation because the thickness of the jejunum on my left hand and the ileum in my right hand, the thickness is quite different because of the circular fold. And another point back to the mesenter of the jejunum, that if you keep this as that the light can goes through this, you can the vasa recta that being longer and the fat cannot reach to the mesenter, but in ileum the fat completely fill the mesenter, and vasa recta are shorter than the vasa recta in jejunum. Uh, I open the inside of the jejunum. You can see the circular fold that made thickness in jejunum. These are completely filled by Kirkering valve, and I mean the fold that we can check here. But in ileum they reduce, and as you can see here in ileum they completely removed, and you can see the ileum be open inside. This is the attachment of the mesentery, and on the opposite of the attachment of mesentery, I mean anti-mesenteric side, when we open the inside and have a look, we can check the pear patches at the just opposite the attachment of the mesentery. This light dyed follicle show the pear patches in ileum. Now, please look here. We say that this is the appendix, and this one is meso of appendix. The artery that supply the appendix goes through the free margin of the meso appendix, and ileum attached to the cecum. Here you can see, and when we open and have a look to the inside of the cecum, you can see the ileum entrance here, that is the valve, superior valve and inferior valve cover the entrance and is curved inferior one, but the superior one is directly anterior and posterior. Attachment of these two valves made the frenulum. In my two pancet you can see frenulum anterior and frenulum posterior. When they pulled is close the valve like this, and when relax is open. So these two, yes, this frenulum led to close and open the valve in physiologic action of this valve. Have, have attention to the large intestine. There are three teniaculi. This is the teniaculi in ascending colon, a collection of the longitudinal muscle fiber, and these are appendix epiphyloid. And if we follow the tree of the teniaculi, they reach to the base of the appendix, or inside, and this is the appendix. This is the teniaculi, and we can follow superior and transverse colon. Again has three anterior teniaculi is here, that greater omentum attached to that, and one inferior is liber, and I mean free, and one posterior that transverse mesocolon. These are appendix epiphyloid sac of the fat that you can see here. And all of this husraculi, this section, we say husraculi. This section here, there are a lot of husraculi. And on the left side for the descending colon, again there are husraculi and three teniaculi, left, right, anterior. And sigma just has two teniaculi, anterior and posterior. That to the, this is the anterior and posterior, and this is the appendix epiphyloid here, and posterior that attachment of the meso